The rain hammered against the windows of our San Francisco apartment, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. I'm Finley, and until a few weeks ago I thought I had it all: a loving wife, a comfortable life as a software engineer, and a future stretching out before me, bright with promise. I was 43 years old. My wife, Everly, worked as a marketing director for a tech startup. We'd been married for 12 years, and while the initial fireworks had mellowed into a comfortable glow, I still loved her deeply, or so I thought. The first sign that something was amiss was subtle. Everly started working late more often, claiming deadlines and urgent projects. I didn't think much of it at first. Her job was demanding and I trusted her implicitly. But then came the hushed phone calls, the ones she'd take outside on the balcony, her voice lowered to a whisper. When I asked her about them, she'd brush it off, saying it was just work stuff, nothing I'd understand. One evening, I decided to surprise Everly at her office with dinner. I knew she'd been working late and I thought it would be a nice gesture. I grabbed her favorite sushi from a place downtown and drove to her office building. The receptionist told me that Everly had left hours ago. My stomach clenched. I called her, but she didn't answer. When she finally called back an hour later, she sounded flustered. "I had a client dinner," she said, her voice tight. "I didn't want you to wait around." The lies started piling up, each one chipping away at my trust. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I started noticing other things, too. A new perfume I didn't recognize, a lipstick stain on her collar that wasn't mine, and a guardedness in her eyes that I'd never seen before. Driven by a gnawing suspicion, I decided to do something I never thought I was capable of. I checked her phone. It felt like a betrayal of my own values, but I couldn't live with the uncertainty any longer. I waited until Everly was asleep, her breathing deep and even, and then I carefully unlocked her phone with her fingerprint. My hands trembled as I scrolled through her messages, and then I saw it. A string of texts from a number I didn't recognize, filled with intimate, suggestive messages. My heart lurched. I clicked on the contact. The name that popped up on the screen sent a jolt of ice through my veins. Jasper. Jasper was Everly's colleague, a slick, charismatic executive who had joined her company a few months prior. I had met him a few times at company events, and I had always felt a strange unease around him. He was charming, yes, but there was something predatory in his eyes, a sense that he was always sizing people up. The messages were explicit, undeniable. They painted a picture of a passionate affair, filled with secret rendezvous and stolen moments. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. The air seemed to thicken around me, making it hard to breathe. I scrolled through the messages, each one a fresh stab wound to my heart. "I can't stop thinking about you," Jasper wrote in one message. "Last night was incredible. I stumbled back, away from the bed as if I had been burned." I couldn't look at Everly, sleeping peacefully beside me, oblivious to the devastation I was feeling. I spent the rest of the night pacing the apartment, replaying the messages in my head, trying to make sense of it all. How could she do this to me? To us, the next morning, I confronted her. I showed her the messages, my voice shaking with anger and hurt. She denied it at first, her eyes wide with feigned innocence. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said. "Those aren't my messages." But I pressed her, my voice growing louder. "Don't lie to me, Everly. I saw the messages with my own eyes. I know about Jasper." Her facade crumbled, tears welled up in her eyes, and she finally confessed. "It just happened," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." "How could you?" I asked, my voice cracking with emotion. "How could you betray me like this? After all we've been through." She didn't have an answer. She just stood there, sobbing, her face streaked with tears and guilt. The next few weeks were a blur of anger, sadness, and recrimination. I moved out of the apartment and into a small studio downtown. I couldn't bear to be in the same space as her any longer. We talked, or rather, we argued. She tried to explain, to justify her actions, but I couldn't listen. The trust was broken, shattered into a million pieces. I learned that the affair had been going on for months, that Everly and Jasper had been meeting in secret, lying to me and everyone else. I felt like a fool, a naive idiot who had been completely blind to what was happening right under his nose. I started drinking heavily, trying to numb the pain. I lost weight, stopped sleeping, and became a shadow of my former self. My friends tried to help, but I pushed them away. I didn't want to talk about it, to relive the pain. I just wanted to forget. One evening, after a particularly heavy drinking session, I stumbled across Jasper's social media profile. I scrolled through his photos, my anger building with each image. There he was, smiling, confident, living his life as if he hadn't destroyed mine. I saw a post about an upcoming company retreat, a weekend getaway at a luxury resort in Napa Valley. A plan began to form in my mind, a dark, vengeful plan. I knew I couldn't let Jasper get away with what he had done. I needed to confront him, to make him pay for the pain he had caused. I spent the next few weeks plotting my revenge. I found out the details of the company retreat, the location, the schedule, everything. I even managed to get my hands on a guest pass, using an old contact from Everly's company. I knew it was risky, that I could get into serious trouble, but I didn't care. I was consumed by a burning desire for revenge. The day of the retreat arrived, and I drove to Napa Valley, my heart pounding with anticipation and dread. I checked into the resort, trying to act as nonchalant as possible. I knew that Everly and Jasper would be there, and I was determined to confront them. I found Jasper by the pool, lounging in a deck chair, sipping a cocktail. He looked relaxed, carefree, as if he didn't have a care in the world. I walked up to him, my hands clenched into fists. "Jasper," I said, my voice low and menacing. "We need to talk." He looked up, his eyes widening in surprise. "Finley, what are you doing here? I know about you and Everly," I said, my voice trembling with anger. "I know everything." He tried to deny it, to brush it off, but I wouldn't let him. I confronted him with the messages, with the lies, with the pain he had caused. He finally admitted it, his face pale and drawn. "I'm sorry, Finley," he said, his voice barely audible. "It just happened. I didn't mean to hurt you. You destroyed my life," I shouted, my anger reaching a boiling point. "You took everything from me." I wanted to hit him, to punch him in the face, but I restrained myself. I knew that violence wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I decided to expose him, to reveal his true character to everyone at the retreat. I gathered the other guests, including Everly, who looked horrified to see me. I told them everything about the affair, about the lies, about the betrayal. Jasper tried to interrupt, to deny it, but I wouldn't let him. I presented the evidence, the messages, the phone records, everything. The room fell silent. People stared at Jasper in disbelief, their faces filled with disgust and anger. Everly stood there, her face buried in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. Jasper's career was ruined. He was fired from his job, ostracized by his colleagues, and humiliated in front of everyone he knew. Everly and I eventually divorced, and she moved away, trying to escape the shame and embarrassment. I won't lie. Revenge felt good, at least for a little while. But it didn't bring me the closure I had hoped for. The pain was still there, the scars still ran deep. It took me a long time to heal, to forgive myself for being so blind, so trusting. Eventually, I started seeing a therapist who helped me to process my emotions and to move on with my life. I learned to forgive Everly, not for her sake, but for my own. I realized that holding onto anger and resentment was only hurting me. I started focusing on myself, on my career, on my hobbies. I took up painting, something I had always wanted to do but never had the time for. I started traveling, exploring new places and meeting new people. It wasn't easy, but I eventually rebuilt my life. I found happiness again, not the same kind of happiness I had with Everly, but a different kind, a deeper kind, a more authentic kind. Looking back, I realized that the affair, as devastating as it was, ultimately made me a stronger person. I learned to trust my instincts, to value myself, and to never settle for less than I deserve. And while I will never forget the pain, I have also learned to forgive, to let go, and to move on. Now, years later, I live a peaceful life in Seattle. I never remarried but found love again with a woman named Willow, who values honesty and open communication. I often think about Everly and hope she has found peace. My story is a testament that even after the most profound betrayals, healing and happiness are possible. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it offers some solace if you're facing similar challenges. Remember, you're not alone, and brighter days are ahead.